Before we begin, tell me in the comments where are you watching from and what time is it right now? Now picture this. A mother stands before news cameras, tears streaming down her face, her voice trembling as she begs for the safe return of her two little boys. Tom represented everything she thought she was missing: success, sophistication, and a chance to escape her small-town life. To Susan, he was a doorway to a better future. But Tom was clear. He didn't want children. The community was shattered. Why? She believed that killing her children would give her a fresh start, a chance to be with the man she thought would save her. But the truth was far simpler and far colder. She wanted freedom from the life she had. She valued her own desires over the lives of her children. The trial began in 1995 and was broadcast widely, captivating viewers everywhere. The prosecution painted Susan as a cold, calculating murderer woman who prioritized her love life over her own flesh and blood. The defense argued she was mentally unstable, a victim of severe depression, unable to see past her pain. Psychologists testified about her traumatic childhood, her fragile mental state, and her desperate need for validation. But the jury saw through the excuses. He told her he couldn't be with a woman who had kids. That rejection planted a dark, dangerous seed in Susan's mind. She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. She will be eligible in 2025, but many believe she should never be released. Inside prison, Susan's life has been troubled. She's been disciplined for breaking rules, involved in inappropriate relationships with guards, and still reportedly struggles with mental health issues. Over the years, she has given interviews expressing remorse, claiming she thinks about her boys every day. But for many, her words mean nothing. Michael and Alex are gone forever, their short, innocent lives cut off, because the one person meant to protect them chose herself instead. It made her believe that her boys were the obstacle standing between her and the happiness she thought she deserved. But even with all the analysis, one question remains unanswered: how? Could a mother kill her own children? Susan's story is a haunting reminder that evil can wear a mask of vulnerability. She stood on camera, crying, deceiving millions, manipulating a nation's sympathy while knowing the horrific truth. Today, John D. Longleg stands as both a crime scene and a memorial. Visitors leave flowers, stuffed animals, and handwritten notes for Michael and Alex. The community still mourns the two innocent lives lost to a selfish act. Susan Smith will live out her days behind bars, her name forever synonymous with betrayal, deceit, and unimaginable cruelty. This case shocked America not just because of the crime, but because it revealed a darker side of human nature: how far someone can go to chase their own desires. It taught us that not all tears are genuine, and not every plea for help is sincere. If this story moved you, comment below. Justice for Michael and Alex, 'cause remembering their names is the only way to honor them and ensure they're never forgotten. On the night of October 25th, 1994, Susan staged an elaborate lie. She claimed she was carjacked at a red light by an armed black man who forced her out of the car and sped away with her children still inside. She ran to the police station hysterical, recounting every detail of this fictional encounter. There were no witnesses at the intersection. Susan appeared on television, crying, pleading, saying she just wanted her babies back. Candlelight vigils were organized. Hundreds of volunteers combed through woods and fields searching for the missing car. Flyers were printed, roadblocks set up, and even national leaders voiced their sympathy. But something about her story didn't feel right. Investigators noticed inconsistencies. And while she cried for the cameras, Detectives saw moments where her composure slipped, where she seemed almost detached, to calm for a grieving mother. She claims a stranger carjacked her vehicle at a stoplight with her children still inside, driving off into the night. They interviewed friends, family, and even Tom Finley, who confirmed he had broken things off with Susan and had no interest in being a stepfather. Under mounting pressure and a web of unraveling lies, Susan finally broke. In a shocking confession, she admitted the unthinkable. That night, she had buckled Michael and Alex into their car seats, driven to John D. Long Lake, and parked at the edge of the boat ramp. She sat there for a moment, tears in her eyes, her hands trembling on the gear shift. And then she released the brake. She watched as the car crept forward into the dark water, picking up speed as gravity pulled it down the slope. She saw her children's faces, heard their screams, and still, she did nothing. The car sank within minutes. Michael and Alex drowned, strapped helplessly in their seats. Susan got out of the car and walked home, already planning the lies she would tell. The nation rallies, neighbors mobilize, and volunteers scour the countryside. Police set up checkpoints, news channels broadcast her pleas around the clock. And the country collectively holds its breath. But behind her sobs and desperate eyes was a chilling secret she carried, a horrifying truth that would devastate not just her community, but the entire nation. 'Cause Susan Smith knew exactly where her boys were. She had driven them to a lake, buckled them securely into their car seats, and in an act that defies human understanding, she released the brake and watched as the car rolled slowly into the dark, cold water. The headlights disappeared beneath the surface as her sons cried for help, trapped and powerless. And Susan walked away. This is the shocking and heartbreaking story of Susan Smith. Susan Levon Smith was born on September 26, 1971, in the small town of Union, South Carolina. Her childhood was anything but easy. Her parents divorced when she was very young, leaving deep scars on her perception of love and stability. Her father, unable to cope with his own struggles, died by suicide when Susan was just 6 years old, a tragedy that left a permanent void in her heart. Her stepfather was strict, emotionally distant, and at times cold, never providing the affection and security she craved. From a young age, Susan learned what it felt like to be invisible, unwanted, and desperate for approval. As a teenager, those feelings of emptiness grew heavier. She battled depression, even attempting suicide in high school. She longed for someone to love her unconditionally, to fill the void her broken childhood had left. In 1991, Susan thought she had found a new chapter in her life when she married David Smith. Together, they had two beautiful boys, Michael, 3 years old, with bright eyes and an infectious laugh, and Alex, only 14 months, still a baby needing his mother's gentle touch. It highlights narcissistic tendencies, emotional immaturity, and how untreated mental illness combined with desperation can lead to unimaginable acts. To the outside world, they looked like a typical young family, but behind closed doors, their marriage was rocky. David and Susan argued frequently. There were rumors of affairs, emotional distance, and constant tension over money and responsibility. Susan felt trapped, suffocated by the weight of a life she never truly wanted. And then came Tom Finley, a wealthy, handsome man who Susan became infatuated with. For 9 long days, the world believed Susan Smith's lie. But police continued to press her. When investigators pulled the car from the lake, the bodies of Michael and Alex were still inside. On July 22, 1995, Susan Smith was convicted of 2 counts of murder. Psychologists have studied Susan's case for decades.